trace consignments, and timeliness. While Singapore is at the top of this index, India ranks 46. This underlines the need for enhanced partnership between government and all stakeholders for collectively working towards improvement in logistics performance in our country. I am sure the efforts being taken by the FFAI in India will greatly contributing to improving our status. The latest report of the World Bank on logistic performance also underlines the importance of trade facilitation for economic development. Countries with better logistics can grow faster, become more competitive, and increase investment. According to this report, boosting logistics performance in low-income countries and bringing it on par with the average performance of the middle-income countries could expand trade by about 15%. So trade facilitation is a huge, is vital to improving the economy of our country, and all stakeholders need to sit together and work out modalities for this. Finally, I would like to touch upon one crucial aspect that is related to environment and sustainable development. Logistics and freight-related activities can account for up to 15% of human carbon dioxide emissions, partly because of the use of fossil fuels in transport. Large logistics service providers of the world have anticipated this trend in shipper demand and have developed global products and programs to meet it. Green logistics is quickly gaining prominence in high-income and emerging economies, and it is time that the Indian logistics industry also addresses environmental concerns and move forward in this area. I do hope that some part of your deliberations in this conference will be on this aspect. I would like to react to a couple of points which Mr. Bhattacharya mentioned. One is, it was very interesting listening to him about how the trade is going to look like 5 years hence. I think all the customs, officers here, we all have seen this development, this industry grow in the last, at least I have seen it for 3 decades. And I am quite confident because I have seen the way this industry has been really dynamic, the way they have been constantly reinventing themselves. The response that we got from the customs broker industry when we introduced something quite radical, such as the automation, the EDI in customs. And it was really heartening to see the way the industry responded when, every time now we have introduced self-assessment. So this is a very, very dynamic and very responsive industry. And I am sure that this industry, all of you, in fact, will be able to deal with all the challenges and reinvent your roles as required. So with this, I believe that the new avatar, as your brochure says, of the custom house agents as customs brokers, will bring this sector in tune with the changing times and will open up new avenues while you come out of traditional ways of doing business. I would also like to set to rest a few of your apprehensions regarding KYC. This, as you all know, is essential for the security and for the, the reason of bringing identification of business onto a record. So KYC is important, and as I think Mr. Bhattacharya mentioned, is not going away. So I think you will need to find methods of, how you will go about getting this done. But I would like to set to rest a few of your apprehensions. I think implementation maybe has created a few problems in some places, but by and large, I think we have not heard of any major problem, and the department is completely receptive to all of you. And if you do have problems, do come to us, do meet the senior officers, and we could sit across and resolve these issues. But from your side, do make an honest effort to implement this successfully, because this is where you would be helping the department in a big way. I do hope this 21st Biennial Convention of the Federation of Freight Forwarders Associations in India brings forth new ideas, fresh thinking, and sets the path to a brighter future for all of you. I convey my best wishes for the success of this convention. Thank you.
Thank you once again, ma'am, for your valuable presence and your time for having joined us here today. With that, it's now time to wrap up the inaugural session, which is why I'd like to invite Mr. Debashish Datta, the Executive Committee member.
Mr. Parande will take a couple of questions, just two.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the mics
questions?
right here. Please introduce yourselves before asking questions.
Yeah.
Could we have the mic right here in the second class?
So you spoke about an existing business. Yeah. You spoke about an existing business who's already importing certain goods are not allowed to seek the advance committee ruling. Now, in case a sister concern of that company takes a ruling, because for that sister concern, an existing import is not taking place. It's a fresh item. They take an advance ruling in their name. Would that advance ruling have sanctity for the sister concern also?
No.
No. So,
because it's a separate legal person, the ruling is applicable only to the applicant.
Appreciated. But as far as the concept or that particular item goes, the classification,
as I said, the ruling given by the authority does not have any precedential value.
Okay.
It may have persuasive value.
Okay.
I mean, if the customs are persuaded that the ruling not only, the facts are identical, but the ruling makes sense, nothing prevents them from making an assessment on that basis.
But no legal.
But you cannot produce it to customs and say that now you are bound by it.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Please give your. Hello. Mike, give here. Hello. Give here.
Good morning. Myself, Kishan Shetty. I'm the Managing Director of Channel Trade. It's quite an interesting and eye-opening session you made, sir, Mr. Parande, such a simplified manner about advance ruling. My sincere request on behalf of my fellow members here, we have a tedious role on this service tax issue. Maybe it's a quite big issue here. Many of them are, we are taking from the various forums like ACAI and CHA Association. So my question is there any particular format by which, what you are highlighting is of crystallizing the questionnaires and putting those forms and putting those impediments in our trade? Various aspects when Government of India is promoting on the exempt trade, when it comes to the service side of it, and this is not a standard set, and the industry forum is, we are taking this initiative. Probably, probably on those notes, if you could enlighten on the service tax issue. Thank you, sir.
I'm not very clear. You're asking whether there is a particular form which
Yeah, one is particular form on those lines, and since you have around 96 rulings, and I could see 6 rulings on the service tax side, and our trade, I'm sure, our trade we are having a tedious, impediments on those lines. So is there any way where our trade, get these beneficiaries?
I mean, the trade at large cannot, because an individual firm has to make an application. I mean, if it's an industry-wide problem and you want an industry-wide solution, the answer is with CBEC, not with us.
So
but as a businessman, if you want clarity and certainty, then provided you are eligible, you can apply. And as I said, the form is pretty simple. You have to finally state the facts, your view of law based on that fact, those facts, and crystallize the question. I mean, the question could be by way of example. These are the activities that I do. Now, question could be whether it is liable to service tax. Right? As simple as that. Such a question can be raised, but by an individual business.
Not as an organization like...
As an organization, no.
Not even for ongoing issues.
Service tax is slightly different. If it's an ongoing issue, you have a problem. But if, because the service tax provision says any service proposed to be provided. If you are already providing that service, then of course you will not be eligible. Any event, what you are saying is that's an industry-wide problem and you are looking for an industry-wide solution.
Sure.
Authority is not the forum for it.
In the meantime, there are cases where the service is also innovative. What we would probably
So if you are going to start a new service,
innovative services.
Correct.
Again, the service tax, impediments are there. Whether to go for such kind of interview.
Let me sort of give you an understanding of how it works. Now you are saying just by way of example, not related to any individual case. You could say you are innovating, right? So you are actually proposing a new service according to you.
Right.
And you make an application to us. Yeah. Department will probably contend that it is an existing service. They will bring forward arguments to say that, okay, although you are labeling it differently, in essence, what you are doing is the same. That is the way the proceedings go on. And we'll, of course, make our own finding as to whether it is a proposed service or it is an ongoing service. If it is a proposed service, we will issue a ruling, but that will only be to you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, good morning. I have one question, sir. Yeah. This advance ruling is for an item. You are giving a ruling for an item that this item is classified under this is the rate of duty. But all over India, these items are being imported. But those importers are not got a clarification from you. But they are assessing under different classification. But with your ruling, a particular station assessing under your ruling. It is not contrary because government is one. Two rulings, how you go about it?
Okay. That's why I prefaced by saying that in its very nature, a regime of advance ruling is a taxpayer service. In other words, it's directed to an individual taxpayer. Now, if let's say there is a practice somewhere where the ruling and the ruling that we give, let's say, happens to be different from that is your question, that in respect of one importer we issue a ruling and that's different from the practice of assessment elsewhere, right? Yes. As far as we are concerned, we have delivered a ruling to the applicant. Those consequences is not something that is a matter of concern to us. The government may take different views. If the government feels that ruling is wrong, for instance, it can always amend the statute. It has happened. I mean, it happens very often that government has a particular policy. That policy is not very accurately reflected in the statute or in the law or in the notification that the government issues. And then based on that gap, sometimes the even tribunal or authority issues a ruling in favor of the taxpayer, which is at variance with the policy that the government intended in the first place. The government can always amend the law, and the ruling will be then inapplicable.
No, sir. My question is that suppose if you go for an appeal in a general cases where the ELT being submitted for other cases for the same item, it is being considered by the appellate authority. So instead of going and coming to you and taking a clarification, we can go straight away there, because your clarification, if it is not being accepted all over the places for the same item, then what is the use of this authority?
Because
that's what I want to know.
The use is for the industry to determine whether it is useful to or not. Whatever concerns you may have about industry at large, if an individual taxpayer wants to be sure, then the authority is the forum for him. And that too in relation to something that he is going to do. If he is already doing that, then he is barred from approaching us. Then he has to go through the normal departmental channels. If he is unhappy with the assessment made on a bill of entry, he has to go to Commissioner Appeals, Tribunal, so on and so forth. But we are not concerned. You see, the consequences of a ruling is not something that the authority can be concerned with. You see, for instance, why only authority? You take a court of law. I mean, technically speaking, a decision of Commissioner Appeals is not binding on other custom houses or other importers. It is a decision in appeal taken in an individual case. Same situation will arise there. It's only a judgment of the High Court or a judgment of the Supreme Court, which are courts of record, that binds the government. And to some extent the tribunal, because the convention has been built that tribunal decisions are considered as binding on other parties as well, if the facts match. But key point I would like to leave with you is that this is a taxpayer service and therefore it is directed to an individual taxpayer.
Sir, Sudeep, please.
Sir, Sudeep Dey from Calcutta.
Yeah.
Sir, is there these 96 rulings which you have already given, is it open to public?
Yeah, they are on the CBC website.
So anyone can use it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you're saying is that the custom is not bound to rule as per your rulings.
Yeah, because the law
Are we
says,
correct, sir?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
Sorry, please go ahead.
No, am I correct that the custom is not bound to listen to your ruling?
They are bound to listen to that ruling in
For that
respect
particular
of
customer?
party. Yeah. True.
Okay.
I mean, you cannot, if you cannot quote this as a precedent in other cases.
But don't you think we actually at the grassroots level, we'll actually have a very peculiar situation where a same officer is assessing in a manner and the next bill of entry is being assessed in a different manner? I mean,
As
don't
I
you
said,
think this is a very peculiar situation
see,
which will arise?
well,
or maybe arising, we do not know.
I can only give a view on it. Explain to you what the law is. I can only give a view on it. Historically, I mean, not only in India, internationally, advance rulings are given to individual importers. The same thing happens in UK, same thing happens in US. It's a service which is given to taxpayers, because I want to be sure about my tax liability, I come to the advance ruling authority. But the rulings issued by advance ruling authorities, and I think that's true of India also, if they are cited before customs authorities, even if they are not legally binding, they have a persuasive value. So I suspect in a large number of cases where somebody else produces a ruling, if the ruling is logically acceptable to the customs, unless there is something seriously wrong with that ruling, in which case the government might be, thinking of changing the law, or there may be a petition against it in the court, it would be accepted.
Sir, but what does your experience say of the 96 rulings? Are they being followed or are they?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have not come across a case where customs authorities have refused to follow a ruling in other parties. At least, in my experience, I haven't. I don't know whether Mrs. Chari and Mrs. Butale are here. I don't know whether they have come across such cases. Simple point is that it cannot be asserted as a right. If the ruling is not for you, you can't go to the customs saying that, okay, you give me assessment on this basis, this is my right. And if you don't, I'll go to appeal. Your appeal will have to be on merits, not on the basis of ruling. In that appeal, you might cite that even advanced ruling authority thinks that this is the correct position.
Sir,
Yeah.
you said that if I take a ruling, that particular ruling is applicable to me. And that particular ruling says a particular classification or a particular value to be accepted. Once I have started importing it, I try and realize that at the other places or in that particular similar kind of things, the assessment is being done in a different way, which is more beneficial to me than what the decision was given by the advanced ruling authority. Can I then claim the change in that particular decision?
No.
Now, if I don't,
once you come to us and get a ruling, it is binding on you.
in that particular case,
In that
particular case, what Mr. Krishnan asked for.
You see, it is not, I mean, let me dispel the notion that the authority is a forum of convenience.
No, sir, there are two factors.
No, I mean, what you are saying.
There are two factors. One is that you start only when I am proposing it.
Yeah.
I have already, not only I have proposed, I have already started working on it. After having worked on it, I find that I am paying more duty than my colleague the other way. In that particular case, can I come back to the authority and say that this should be amended? No. If that is not, then the customs would never permit me the benefit, as what Mr. Krishnan has said, to get that lesser rate of duty, because I have got a ruling.
I can't answer the second part of your question, but the first part of the question is like any other order that is made under law. Once we make the order, that what in the legal language we become what are called functus officio. So unless the substratum of facts changes, we cannot revisit that case. So we can't pronounce on the same facts twice. That's as simple as that. And having come to us, an applicant cannot choose not to follow a ruling. I mean, if you get into a situation where you find that the ruling is adverse to your interest, you have a problem.
Thank you.
I think last question, Vipin. Vipin, I think. Okay, quickly.
Sir, myself Ramesh Babu. I would say we have a wonderful session and we have a wonderful presentation from your side. It is enlightening. And I mean, two things which really bothers me to understand. Here we have an act, and act says you have a free consultancy, have a ruling so that the law of the land follows the ruling. And then we have an act which gives you a preventive, argument or prevention of any kind of a dispute. And but there are barriers to reach. And you say that there are only 72 applications as far as the customs are concerned, and total is 96. We have so many imports and so many disputes, and we have a legal procedure where we have pending cases and waiting for a hearing quite a long time. And if this being the situation, and there is an opportunity for an individual company who would like to approach and would like to seek an opinion from you, but there are barriers. And what should have been the reasons for the barriers? Why should there be a public limited company and public sector company to be an applicant? Why can't it be for all the tax, all the SSCs who would like to import? And if at all they are coming out with an idea, like they would like to import a new product, they would like to develop a new product category altogether. Why can't there be a generalization of approaching for an advice? Can I have an opinion? Maybe I know this is an act, this is not by you, but if I can have some input on this, that would be glad. Thank you.
Well, I can only express my opinion, and I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And I also feel that the authority needs to be made far more accessible. I mean, now that I have retired from the board, I think I am at liberty to voice my frank opinion. My own conviction has been that customs should consider it their duty, an important duty, to give written clarifications on questions that the importers ask. Because after all, when we get into a dispute with you, what do? We have a dispute, you have one view of the law and the department has another view of the law. And it proceeds like this. We have the same process here which is occurring before the facts have arisen. That's the only difference. So if I can pronounce on something that has happened, why can't I pronounce on something that is about to happen? Assuming that the person who comes to me is coming with clean hands and that he will hold by what he says before me. So my personal view has been that this should be an integral part of customs day-to-day bread and butter job. You should have the right to approach customs authorities and ask within X amount. Now, why hasn't it happened in India? I'll answer the first part of the question. I think we don't have a very open approach to taxpayer services in this country. So, this came, as I said in the beginning in my presentation, it was brought in as a form of incentive for attracting foreign direct investment. So therefore, it was initially open to only foreign investors or JVs, etc., etc. Gradually, the scope has been widened. So now it covers Indian domestic companies as well. But even in the domestic companies, the private limited companies are out, partnerships are out. I suppose LLPs also are out. So, well, there is a case to be made out of treating all taxpayers on the same footing. Then the question that will arise is what has been bothering government is really if they opened up to that extent, would we have the capacity to deal with so many rulings? That only time can tell. I have really no answer for it. And I mean, going by the applications that we have been receiving, it is not as though there is a huge flood of applications. So in substance, I agree with you. And the other reason, of course, is that I do feel that in our context, the constitution of an independent authority headed by a Supreme Court judge certainly will inspire much greater confidence in you than if, let's say, the rulings were delivered by a bench of commissioners. I mean, I'm being very candid. So, in terms of levels of trust, confidence, perhaps you would trust an independent authority to be fair and objective more than you would trust a purely departmental mechanism. But that is just a question of time. I mean, these are some of the things that can be fixed if there is a will to fix it. But this is the way we are constituted and that's the way it is going to remain. I don't think that is going to change. With time you may see the enlargement of jurisdiction. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay.
Last. One
we have to close.
Simple question.
We want to be punctual, then we have to close. Thanks, I think Kavya.
Thank you very much once again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to witness a good exchange of views from across the audience, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions, which we request you to please take it offline again to ensure that we adhere to the timeline. On that note, I'd now like to invite Mr. Debashish Datta, Executive Committee Member, FFFAI, to present the word of thanks for the inaugural business session.
Good morning. Kavya is asking me to give a vote of thanks and chairman is saying that you have to give a summing up. So I should listen to the chairman. He is the principal of our college. Good morning. Srimati Shobhachari, member Personal Vigilance. Sri Jashadan Prande, member Authority for Advanced Ruling. Sri Shankalpo Bhattacharjee, Director KPMG India. Srimati Neetalal Bhutalia, Commissioner of Customs, New Delhi Airport, Sri Shantanu Bhatkamkar, Chairman, FFFAI, my friend Shankar and Dushant, and past presidents and chairmen of FFAI, my FFAI fellow members, ladies and gentlemen, and obviously the IAF-CBA members. First of all, I should give a thank you, because if summing up is I have to do, then I have to do it the start. So I should give the first thanks to Mr. Arvind Parekh to come to this hall, to reach this hall, and he is the first person to reach at 9:20. So I should say, sir, you are a flag